Hello, hello, and welcome back to BAKI Season 4, Episode 6, Beyond the Sound Barrier. What a great title that I definitely remembered. Joining me on the show, we have three-time returning guest. It's the one, the only, Phil.
Trifecta has arrived. How's it going?
Good. Phil's a triple threat. He's been on BAKI 3 times.
I was threatened 3 times to come on BAKI.
Oh man, yeah, no, it's going good. It's funny. I don't know if you know this, but the second half of this season of Baki dropped last week, so I've been watching a lot of Baki right before this episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's number 9 on Canadian Netflix.
Not say the same. I mean, I will say this episode had quite a different feel than the ones I previously had watched, but we'll get into it for sure.
Of course. So what I'm trying out a new question because I used to ask people what they're watching. I used to ask them to cast the Baki cinematic universe, but I just watched the final episode of Baki Hanma, and for all I know, that's the last they're ever gonna make. So I've got a bit of a finality towards it. So I wanted to ask, before the series wraps up, what would you want to see? Like, what's something you want to see on this show that you haven't seen before?
Okay. I mean, I haven't seen every episode. I've listened to quite a few podcast episodes, but I cannot confirm if this has ever happened. Has Tokugawa ever fought?
I don't think so, no.
I would love to see a fight with Tokugawa then. I feel like that would be pretty silly. I don't think he'd be good. I don't think he'd be just this hidden master. I can imagine it's a lot of like the Three Stooges fighting. He would be good at sending up a Home Alone trap and trapping a fighter with cunning.
Would he be fighting a very large man? So there's a good humor dynamic going on.
Yeah, the classic the large man goes to swipe, but he runs between his legs, and then the large man is looking under through his legs, whoa, where'd he go? And then Tokugawa's
you're a bad boy.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. It's funny.
Imagine,
you're this.
That's what Pickle's downfall is.
It's like my favorite episode of Smart Guy. Pickle is too used to fighting incredibly strong animals that he doesn't know how to fight this little tiny man.
It's funny. I know exactly what episode of Smart Guy you're talking about.
It's iconic.
It really is.
Yeah. For any listeners who didn't watch the story of T.J. Henderson, the Smart Guy.
Your brother is smart.
He's a smart guy. Smart guy.
Basically, they build a chess-playing robot. This is back when chess-playing robots were supercomputers. And it's able to beat TJ, who's the smartest kid in the world, basically. But it can't beat, I think, Mo, or either that or TJ's brother. Because...
Is it Marcus?
Is it Marcus? Yeah, you might be right. Editor Steve with a quick correction. It was Marcus. But also, TJ actually wins, but he uses Marcus's strategy. Yeah, and the reason that it loses is because the machine was programmed to beat a good chess player, and it doesn't know how to handle these moves that don't make sense.
Queen takes pawn. Check.
Does not compute. Move is whack.
Which is one of those great sitcom writing things that if you think about it for just a little too long, doesn't really make any sense. Anyway, moving along. It's funny, you're the second guest in 2 weeks to want Tokugawa to fight people. Wilf wanted Tokugawa to fight Albert Payne, which I think would be a good fight. But we'll get to Payne. So just to start things off, this is an episode where I feel like this is one of the most nothing episodes of the season so far.
Maybe that's why I felt like it had a different vibe to it, because there's it's really, I don't want to call it a filler episode, but it has the feel of a filler episode.
Yeah, if it wasn't for near the end, we start talking about some of the things that I think are the best ideas ever put in Baki or included in this episode. But the beginning is very slow. It starts with Baki laying down. He's got a big footprint on his chest from where he got kicked. it's been a while since your last episode. What did you think was going on when the episode started?
I was so confused though because it looks like Baki's talking, but that was like Jiro Hanma.
I think Baki was pretending to be his dad. Like he was doing an impression of what his dad would say.
Course he got his ass kicked. He went looking for Pickle without a strategy or any idea what he would do when he found him. He may be my son, but I'm disgusted by his lack of preparation.
He was, but I missed that context entirely. So it's just like, what is going on? Is there some weird like body switching plot I'm not aware of? Is this like a Freaky Friday situation? But
oh, that'd be good.
But then it became clear that they're just Yujiro Hanma and Tokugawa just kind of like, or was it Tokugawa? Yeah, just like chatting it up about pickles.
Tell me, has the head of the Tokugawa conglomerate gone senile?
And about their fight, which, again, just kind of like talking about stuff that previously happened, just to catch the audience up. A nice little bit of exposition. Some great lines in there.
It's good to catch people up because, I mean, specifically for people on this podcast, because I don't know how many people start watching season 2, episode 6 of Baki without watching season 2, episode 5, but depending on how popular this podcast is, it might actually be a significant portion.
But so they're just chatting it up about the fight. Sounds like Baki kind of got his ass kicked, which, I mean, feels like, not I'm going to say always happens, but there definitely does seem to be a repeated thing of like Baki getting kind of beat and then having to come back stronger. It seems to be
it feels like
a recurring theme.
If the fight lasts like more than like I feel like a minute, then Baki wins, and because if it feels like he loses, like literally this fight was Pickle walked him over into the arena and then kicked him in the chest, and then they took Baki away before he could get eaten.
I mean, the great thing about this fight though is wasn't about the fight itself, but the friends we made along the way. Because all it took was one kick to make us friends for life, which, I mean,
That one move alone, that's given me plenty to think about. Just from that, I can tell what he is, how good he is. That one kick made us friends for life.
I think of like when we met, like back in elementary school, just like hanging out, and I just gave you a nice swift roundhouse right to the chin. And that's when we knew.
I remember laying down on my floor that night, pretending to be my dad, remembering the kick and thinking, "Wow, we've really bonded over something here."
It's also just like really strange in the way that they like. I feel like up until now, everything has always been about like becoming the best and the strongest, and then he gets beat, and he just seems like kind of cool with it. It just kind of seems like the opposite of like everything they've established in Baki a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is the start of a morph, because like I've now watched the next season, and like the first few seasons are very much Baki is very driven by the fact that he hates his dad and he has to beat him. And let's just say by the end of the series, that is not his motivation. So like, it's beginning to morph into more of a like, I like to fight type of thing right now. But anyway, let's jump ahead to Katsumi and Retsu talking about the mock punch. So you know things about bones and medicine. What did you think about this mock punch?
That it? Isn't that how it went? Your mock punch? It's a good move. It's the only one of yours that ever surprised me.
Well, the first thing I wrote, like as I'm watching this, is accelerate. I mean, it comes up in the bingo, but the idea of something being accelerated by your ankles. I don't really know how much force you could, like centrifugal force you could generate in your ankles. So I wrote that down at first, but then I realized it just kind of kept going, and we had ourselves a little, the big toes connected to the ankle bone, the ankle bones connect to the shin bone kind of thing going on, and it just went up through like the whole entire body. Which I'm not going to say it's like wrong per se. Like that's definitely like you don't just punch with your arms, you punch, with like your hips and stuff. But I guess the emphasis being like, oh no, you punch with your entire freaking body, every possible articulated joint.
And it's one of those things that, it doesn't sound wrong, like use your whole body in this punch. But yeah, when you the way that I found it interesting was they were like, if you want to break the sound barrier, that's what, 785 miles per hour. So each one of your joints has to accelerate at 68 miles an hour, I think was the math they had. And they said that's impossible.
Theoretically, if done right, you could break Mach speed by using the 10 joints between your toes and fist. Mach speed's around 750 miles per hour, so you'd have to twist your joints faster than 62 miles per hour. Impossible.
But if you use your spine, which gives you an extra 17, then you have 27 joints, which I believe would just make it so you have to like accelerate at each of your joints at like 30 miles per hour, which also feels impossible.
The idea in general, though, of just like you're going to generate additional force from like parts of your body that are like not really involved in the punch is great. Like we're just making it up as we go along.
You don't think the toes are involved? You don't think the toes are propelling you forward?
You know what?
30 miles an hour?
I mean, a good base. You know, you got to really plant that big toe and like really just. Don't you see that in kickboxing all the time? Like their big toes are like massive. They're thick, big toes.
Yeah. Sometimes I listen back. I don't know. I've never heard of this before. I don't know why I politely said yeah. I don't know. Can you imagine how horrific it would be if you actually saw somebody's spine and like each joint was like propelling them forward at 30 miles an hour or whatever? I feel like they'd look like a snake. Like it would just be terrifying.
Yeah, it would for sure be terrifying. And I also don't know if it came up with this first scene because we'll get to it. But it's really, this Katsumi really is just kind of like the focus of the episode. We keep going back and forth. But then we also get some like pretty interesting skeleton graphics like throughout the episode, which just seems really out of place for the Baki.
Oh my god, the skeleton graphics, the skeleton, like one of the other mangaka that I like is Junji Ito. Have you ever read any of his stuff?
I don't know by name alone.
So he's like a horror guy. Like he did Uzumaki, I think.
He did the whirlpools and like
the spiral one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think I've read like one or two of them. I don't know all of his stuff. But...
Oh, I love them. They're like little tiny shorts. They're like Stephen King novels if they were like a lot grosser and shorter. But anyway, like that is the only art style I've seen that like because there's this one story where it's like this person is just growing within themselves and it's like you cut them open and it's like a tree ring. Anyway, that type of body horror was the closest comparison I could get to the skeletons that they built in this episode. But I shouldn't jump ahead because we've got to talk about the chloroform pool.
I mean, so much to talk about. First of all, and then again, forgive me, is that like Einstein there?
So great question. His name's Albert Payne. He's yeah.
Sorry. Go on.
He's very clearly supposed to look like Einstein, but at the same time, he's not Einstein. So I don't know what you want to take from that.
I'll take from it what I will.
So we jump to the arena where Albert Payne, Tokugawa, and Jerry Stradham are all hanging around, and the arena has been filled with chloroform gas.
Chloroform. We pumped 140 dozen barrels of it into the ring and knocked him out before he could get away.
Which is just great, but it's heavy though, so it won't go anywhere.
Shouldn't Pickle just die? Like if the chloroform gas is there, then the oxygen is not there, right?
I think in theory you're dead on, but I mean this guy also just randomly froze and survived, so there must be maybe he's developed some sort of alternative method of staying alive all this time.
Oh, I like that. He's from a time before humans evolved lungs.
Yeah, he's like, oh, there you go. Like he's like using photosynthesis. Maybe that's why he's so strong, right?
It's photosynthesis. Yeah, an early Superman. So Pickles wandered back to the arena. They dumped. I guess they just had 1,400 pounds of chloroform or whatever they needed that they could just dump in.
Isn't this Tokugawa's like isn't that his like dojo, like where he has all his fights? Like, is he just like not fighting for the time being because he's like, I guess I just got to keep this guy in my dojo? Or
It's not addressed. Yeah, like you'd think he would want to do some fights, but like you can't because Pickle would just eat them. Also, it's full of chloroform now. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing with the arena.
it's weird too because they kind of refer to him as like, where is it here? Like, is he a lab specimen or stuff like that? But then they're like, yeah, we'll just keep him fighting. But it's like, what? There's a lot of tension going on there.
Well, Pickle's got this weird thing where he will only eat what he is beat. So you need to throw stuff at him or else he won't eat. And then he would die.
All he needs is food and companionship and he'll be good to go, which is like Maslow. That's like most of the like Maslow's basic needs.
Yeah.
That is the hierarchy.
Yeah. No, it's Pickle's just I don't think Pickle's reached the top yet. I don't think he's going for that what's the word? Self-visualization. Nah.
I think that's it.
It's self-actualization. Also, it's Maslow, not Maslov. Maslow.
Yeah, I mean, also I just kind of get a kick that Tokugawa's just like always so excited. You know?
Oh,
seems to be in a good mood.
What does he say to him? He says like the poor boy needs his rest, and then just like he starts yelling at Pickle. I love it.
Hey there, Pickle!
Yeah, and then there's like this great scene of just Pickle descending below the chloroform. He looks like a shark. He just kind of just like, I don't know. He's just lurking. I like it.
So Pickle's waiting for the next fight. And before we get back to the main Katsumi stuff, we do check in with Baki, who has learned a frightening new martial arts technique, where he has... Well, actually, Phil, can you just describe this? Because I was just too impressed by it.
Well, I mean, at first, he's just kind of radiating energy, which is like, oh, like what is going on? And then all of a sudden he just opens his hand and it's just newspaper. Like it looks like a magic trick. Like it does not look like anything related to martial arts. But somehow he makes this comment of like, I would never have been able to ball up newspapers with my fists before. Which is like something I feel like a child could do, but I'm very confused as to the key point of how this is any martial arts like training.
So from what I can understand, I think the impressive part is that this is a whole page of a newspaper and he was able to get it balled up into his fist. And I assume his fist is not really like changed form or anything like that. It's a stretch to make this cool, especially because afterwards he starts just playing hacky sack with them.
Oh, I know. He's like juggling them, but in just like a very slow way.
And it sort of looks like he's bad at it. Like I feel like he's like losing control of one of them.
The animation looks like real stiff when they do it, which just seems very like ugh.
You know what's funny? I've been complaining about this show's animation for a bit, and I will continue to do so. But I saw an interesting comment defending it, and it was just saying that like the character models on this show have so many muscles on them that to animate these muscles moving is just so much effort that they just don't do it. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. It's not like, a terrible assumption. Although I've seen lots of animations they do of characters without muscles, and it's not much better. So we'll leave that one up in the air.
Imagine you're watching it. It's like characters in a different frame rate. Like Kozue comes in and she's like 50 frames per second. Baki's like slideshowing. Oh, that'd be so good.
I'm sorry, I got a bad ping right now. I'm lagging a bit.
Oh man. All right, so now we get to the real meat and potatoes here. So Retsu and Katsumi are sitting around like they just played a game of football and are reviewing the tapes, and they're watching footage of a bullet,
Yep.
and then they record themselves, I guess, playing with a whip, and in both scenarios you can.
Is there a plane as well? I feel like there's just like a jet or something.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
They just talked about it.
Yeah. In both scenarios, the important thing is that these objects are moving faster than the speed of sound, and so they create a shock wave.
I honestly, for a second, I was like, "Is that really what it is?" And I just could not be bothered to look it up. Like it's one of those things that like it sounds close enough, but I was like, you know what? Sure.
I think this Baki's the master of getting something that's real as your jumping off point. So you go, oh yeah, okay, and then it becomes unreal. I believe the shockwave stuff is fine. A whip is the first object to break this, the first human object to break the speed of sound.
I will say though, the way that they just like introduce the whip is hilarious because they're just talking about these like amazing things that it would like create a shockwave, and then they're like, and a bullwhip. It's like, what? And then he just kind of like uses it once and then just like tosses it aside.
This, a bullwhip. If you know how to swing this woven leather thong just right, the tip of it can reach Mach speed. If you know how to swing this woven leather thong just right, the tip of it can reach Mach speed.
I mean, I feel like the bullwhip is kind of an underutilized weapon in the Baki universe right now.
Oh my god, imagine if in the next fight he just, instead of learning these stupid techniques, he just starts whipping Bingo.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so good. Yeah, no. Unfortunately, that's not what they're going to do. So Katsumi, we touched on this earlier. He has mastered the use of turning his body into a whip, where he uses all of his joints to punch at the speed of sound in what is called the Mach punch. Very impressive.
But not just like all the regular joints. Like he is articulating like every single vertebrae in his spine, which I mean doesn't make it is what it is. I'm just gonna leave it there. But it's a very jarring animation that they just show his spine just like twisting in unattainable angles. And then he just kind of just does it. Like it's kind of funny too. Like this is a very martial arts shows, but they talk about this like insanely hard technique, and then he's just like, and he just does it, and you're like, oh, nice.
Yeah, and my favorite, and it's funny to just think of like so these are 27 real joints in the body, but that means like how much is coming from my fingers? Like that's like what 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 5 in my hand alone. Like I don't know how much speed that's adding, but.
He also said like each had to reach like 62 miles an hour or something.
It's incredible. It's truly.
He did it.
Yeah, he did it, and everybody's impressed for about 2 seconds before Kaiokaku shows up, the Grand Emperor Kaiokaku.
Master Kaku!
He doesn't just show up. He like materializes right beside them. Like they have no idea he's there. He just kind of is like, oh shit.
So he's back. He's from China. Did you have any episodes with Kaku in them, Phil?
Oh, I mean, yeah. There was a few. I watched. I don't know if like the one I commented on in season 2 of the old Baki had him, but I did watch a bit of that season with all the Grand Tournament, the Grand Raito tournament, tournament.
Okay, so you're familiar with our.
I am familiar with this character. Yeah. Like he. Isn't he the one that just like whipped? No, not Dorian's ass. He whipped another guy's ass like right away. Anyway, yes.
Yes. Kaiokaku was the guy who pulled down the Muay Thai Kaio's pants and flicked him in the balls to win his first fight. That was fun. I wish we got more fights like that. So Kaku comes in and he's like, the Mach punch is cool, but I think Katsumi said this is like the ultimate technique, and Kaku was like, you call punching in a straight line the ultimate technique? That's dumb. You want to see something perfect? Check this out. And it cuts to an egg on a string. That was my favorite moment of the episode.
No commentary whatsoever. Just insta cut to an egg. And then you don't even really see what happens. It's just like a flash, and then the egg has been perfectly sliced.
Well, it's funny that Kaku like literally said like, you think that's the ultimate martial art, just punching in a straight line, and then just punched in a straight line. Except he punched an egg.
Faster, Steve. He did faster. That's what you're missing.
That is true.
Yeah.
Also,
it's ridiculous.
Yes, and we should make clear. So the reason there's an egg here. So you hold the egg on a string, you punch the egg, and you punch it with such force that you cut the bottom half of the egg off, and the egg doesn't swing or anything. It's quite impressive.
It's not. The other thing too is it's not just like you're breaking the egg, like you're truly cutting the egg. Like it's not like you're smashing it, the shell. Like it looks like if it was like a hard-boiled egg and you just put like a knife through it.
This would be probably the most
It
handy,
is impressive.
Yeah. But also the most handy martial art I think we've seen in the show. Like, I would use this all the time when baking. I would just get a little string up.
Although I will say, then we just get this grotesque shot of him eating the egg after he had sliced it.
Oh, I'm gonna make a collage or a montage of all the fucking gross. This episode was like a mukbang, but like. Katsumi has realized that his punch isn't as good as Kaku's. Now, why isn't his as good as Kaku's? Katsumi is using every joint in the human body towards this punch. Phil, do you want to explain why Kaku's technique is better?
Well, essentially, he is saying Katsumi doesn't have the imagination necessary to understand that the entire body can be joints. You don't have to limit yourself to the physical joints of your body. You can just do it. You can just be joints. I don't know if there's a better way to describe that, other than
that was the original Nike slogan. Just do it, be joints. But they cut out the second line over time.
Yeah, but truly, like it shows that classic, weird CGI skeleton that is again featured frequently throughout this episode.
Yeah.
And
so
all of a sudden it just it does all these joints just appear.
I can achieve supersonic speed using just these joints. Incredible, isn't it? Of course, when I say that I'm limiting myself to the use of those few joints, in fact, that's actually not true. Forget anatomical structure. I give myself as many joints as I can imagine, and the imagination is limitless.
Yeah, when you think of bones, usually you'd think of something like the femur, like a long bone, like the type a cartoon dog would have. But you can also think of the spine, which is made up of all those little tiny joints. So what Katsumi and Kaku start to imagine is that imagine your arm bone. What's the name of your arm bone?
There's like the ulna, the humerus, and the radius are the three big ones.
I guess I don't know. I'm gonna go with the humerus. Imagine that your humerus became just like your spine. Like every inch there was a new joint on it. That's how it's described. And I think that what I love about this is it's an evolution of Baki's opinion on the power of imagination. Like previously, Baki had learned how to fight by imagining fighting a giant praying mantis, and that was that's a bit ridiculous. But at its core, it's shadow boxing, and Baki is imagining ideas and theory crafting how to fight. This is literally imagining so hard that your body has evolved. You've imagined new bones into your body,
which is great too, because it also kind of jumping ahead a little bit here, but it then ties in theories of evolution that make no sense, that literally go against the theories of evolution.
Well, it's I'm glad that he believes in evolution, but it's also he believes that giraffes willed themselves into having longer necks.
Yeah, the basis of it is kind of accurate in that giraffes needed long necks to eat the branches and things like that. But where it loses it immediately is that evolution is this slow moving process that moves thousands of hundreds of thousands of years to develop. Where he's like, if I just think I want to do something, I have to be survival of the fittest and do it.
Yep. It's the great comparison. It's giraffes' necks grew huge. All I'm doing is punching hard. That's nothing compared to what they did. Oh, it's the downplaying of what he did. But eventually, Katsumi is able to imagine that he has enough joints so that he can perform the mock punch. That's the funny thing. I don't know what they call the new punch. Maybe I've just forgotten it. But he already could do a mock punch, and this is just.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything that makes me think that it's any actual named punch other than just the mock punch.
Yeah.
Initially had, so.
Mach 2 punch. It breaks the sound barrier twice. But yeah, so he finally prepares to do his punch against an egg, and my favorite shot of the episode was cut to the egg. My second favorite shot is the like, it's almost comedy. The cut of Katsumi doing his punch, and it cuts to the outside of the building, and he's blown the windows off every window on the floor of the gym. Just a reminder, this is the audio of a man punching the bottom half of an egg on a string. Like a bomb has gone. You know what? I've seen a bomb go off on this exact floor because that happened in season 1. And it was like almost not as impressive as this.
I know, but then, oh my gosh, but then you get like the scene after where everyone's checking to see what happened, and you just get like the glorious solar, like the sun flare throughout all the shots, and like the golden hour effect. Like again, it's so weird this season because it seems like 3-dimensional in parts, but the characters are so flat that it's very jarring, but it was a very cool scene. I did like that one. Yeah.
So it's good. So Katsumi has now mastered the Mach 2 punch, although even he seems to doubt it a little bit. And that brings us... Oh, we did miss a scene. Doppo, Retsu, and Kaku have a little meeting. Honestly, yeah. I don't even remember what they talked about too much because I just found that they were all eating so much and like
very disgustingly.
There were just stretches of noise. Like
it's just Kayu Kaku basically just being like, I think he's gonna learn it real quick because he's so smart. Like he's like, I think it's gonna be great. And he's like, isn't that your son that got his ass kicked? Which I like actually shot me back. Like wasn't Katsumi the one who like got obliterated by like Dorian? Like
yeah, that's Katsumi. That was the last time he did anything.
I only remember him because he was, when they mentioned he was Doppo Oropo's son. I'm like, oh wait, wasn't it that guy?
Doppo Oropo.
whatever his name is.
It's like very close.
Doppo Oropi.
Doppo Orochi.
Oh, Orochi. Whoops, I have this on P.
No, I like it. All right. Final scene of the episode. Baki is hanging out with his problematically aged friend Rumina down by the viaduct.
Like also in like the show with like not like the best voice acting in general. Like what is going on with Rumina's voice acting?
See, I disagree on the first part. I think this show has great voice acting, except for Rumina.
But like, I mean, it's not like stellar, but this just like it stuck out like a sore thumb.
Hey, wait! Do you have a fight coming up?
Rumina's like, Baki, what are you doing?
Like honestly, having not really seen this character before, it was not very clear if it was a boy or a girl for a while.
Yeah. Oh my god. Rumina sucks. It's funny, this is a very parallel to the first time we meet Rumina, because Baki takes him down to this viaduct and then spanks him into the river. And Gary Stratton was there that day too. I don't know why Gary Stratton was even here. But they both came to watch Baki fight against a ghost T-Rex, or an imagined T-Rex.
Yeah, it just kind of appears out of nowhere.
I don't think we're ever going to get to see that fight, sadly.
I mean, you would know, but no spoilers.
I watched a lot of Baki in the last few weeks. It's sort of blurring together.
They just kind of talk about like, oh, he's getting ready for the big fight, and you're like, oh, what is it? And then it just, you see the dino appear, and you're like, wait, what? All very strange.
Yes, I love it though. You know, like the problem with Baki in the first few seasons, I think, is that he was just sort of presented as this guy who knows who's really good at martial arts, which is cool. But everybody he fights know, like, you know, Kempo or like karate. Like they have like actual techniques that you can hear about. What I like what they've been doing lately is sort of setting up Baki with his own thing, which is he fights imaginary creatures and then learns their imaginary kung fu styles. It's pretty rad, in my opinion.
I'll say it.
All right. We all know what time it is. Baki Bingo! It's Baki Bingo.
Yeah, baby.
So, a big shout out to my brother, guest of the show, or friend of the show, Jeff, who I let make a request for the podcast, and one of them was that we play BAKI Bingo. He gave some example cards and said I could change them, but honestly, I love these cards so much. Like, all of these things happen so frequently. It's basically bingo. Each square has something that happens in an episode of BAKI. Urination displayed on screen is one of them. And so first off, I realized I didn't tell you which one to pick. So which one did you go for, Phil? I did both.
I didn't even scroll down enough to see there was a second one, so I only did the first one.
You know what's funny? I did the first one, and then I was like, "There's no way Phil's gonna choose the second one." So I'm glad.
I honestly, it opened. I went great, and then I kind of like it's like I know what bingo is. Like I don't assume there's anything else with this. So good to know.
So let's just go through the ones that you wrote down or that you were able to cross off.
Well, it's funny you mentioned urination displayed on screen because I think that was one that if I had gotten that one, I would have gotten the bingo. But going in order, I don't know if this would count, but Tokugawa is excited about a fight. I mean, he's just so excited. And there's a bit of a scene at the very beginning where he was talking about the fight between Pickles and Baki.
I think that's right on the line. Yeah.
Clearly, no female dialogue. I think that's an easy one.
Yeah.
Many people took many disgusting bites of many things.
Oh my god, yes.
Clearly the science theory of dubious truth.
That's the cornerstone of this episode.
It literally is. I had Japan's superiority is implied. I don't know, we didn't talk about it, but there's a random scene. It is a 30-second narrator thing where he just talks about
some time ago, a certain Japanese man traveled to China. He fought many matches against many martial artists and was victorious every time.
I think it is Dopo Orobi.
It's Dopo Orobi, yeah.
Yeah, he just goes to China and beats everybody. And that's it. It's just it's like 2 lines. That's all that it serves no purpose other than to just be like, yeah, Chinese fighters suck.
And it's like, yeah, like the story is literally Dopo went to China and beat up a bunch of people. He went to the circus in Japan and found a child there.
Literally, that's what it is. So
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I gave a character glows in a Mirage like haze, of course. I think that happened once or twice. I don't know if the fighting gimmick one would count. I mean, again, I kind of wrote it because there was just a line where Kaio Kaku had, he's like, I only use these joints. Actually, that's not true.
I think that it does count. I think that we spent the whole episode learning about the Mach Punch, the OG Mach Punch, and then it's instantly invalidated.
Yeah, he works all this time. Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I had a character is referred to by their nickname because apparently Katsumi is Lethal Weapon, which is
never heard of that shit before. That's good. Yeah.
Lethal Weapon. Now I understand. No wonder people call you that.
But it is very clearly that, yeah.
Similarly to the whole Japan superiority is implied, the narrator gives exposition that is completely superfluous. That whole story, like that 30-second flashback, literally serves no purpose. Illusionary hallucination happens in the fighter's mind. I don't know the next episode, so I can't say for sure. But that whole final scene with Baki, I think qualifies.
Yeah.
Same with the giant animal. That's like big giant animal right there. And then again, this one may be up for debate, but the animators are given a scene that is impossible to animate. I can only imagine what you would do with the direction of imagine a skeleton that is all joints. I think they did an okay job, but you could also argue they didn't. So I gave that one.
Yeah, I like that. So no lines, no official bingo scores.
No, unfortunately, I was too short, or as one short in 2 instances. If there had been urination displayed on screen or skin removal, I would have had a bingo, but I was short there.
Yeah, and it's funny that's come up a lot these seasons. All right, so I'm not going to go through all of my one because it's it overlaps a lot. But I will say that I did get a bingo.
Nice.
A character is referred. Ask you this. Yeah.
Did you give yourself any that I did not give, or are they? Because they're the same, are they not?
There's a slight differences between them, and I was able to get one that you don't have, which is a character over 80 is still an effective fighter.
Nice.
So I got that with Kaku. The characters referred to by their nickname, Lethal Weapon Katsumi. I gave myself one for a giant animal as depicted because I think that the ghost T-Rex counts.
I gave that as well. Okay, good.
An illusionary hallucination happens in the fighter's mind. That's the T-Rex again. And we learn a science theory of dubious truth to explain a fighting technique, which is the imagination-powered whip punch. Or even the original whip punch is on very dubious scientific grounds. So that's... I'm honestly gonna... I'm gonna keep these around. I'm gonna find more use for these Baki Bingo cards because I had so much fun filling this out.
It does add like an extra level to the viewing experience when you're now just like not only watching the episodes, but you're like it's like a drinking game of sorts.
Well, yeah.
Season 4 finale activity, perhaps.
We'll see. It's funny. I wanna do a big finale for the show, but the problem is like you know the timeline. Like the finale of this show is gonna come like when I have like a 2-week-old kid, so. I might do an early finale and try and figure something out, but we shall see. All right, Phil. One last question for you. What do you think of Baki? What do you think? How do you think the show's doing? Do you think it's getting better?
I mean, it's kind of interesting because like as you know more and more characters, I think like when we started this and I watched an episode, it was just a lot of confusion of just like what is going on and just like a lot of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
But after you watch so much and you kind of like normalize yourself to the ridiculousness, you can just kind of enjoy it. Again, this is not maybe a show I would recommend to people to just like check out. But I will say I've definitely watched more episodes doing this show than like what I've done just based on just enjoying the silliness of it all. So I would say it's on a good track. This whole pickle saga is just like kind of a hard right turn from the rest of the show, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, honestly, I love this arc. I think I said it before. This whole arc is made up of 4 main fights: Retsu, Katsumi, and then 2 more that we'll get to. And I think the first 3 are really good. The 4th one's okay. Anyway, Man, what is this? I feel like an actual podcast. I have like 5 segments I have to cover. We gotta do fan questions.
Oh, okay.
And there's 2 this week because I have a backlog. All right. Oh, between me and my co-host, who would be the better Baki fight narrator? Answer carefully, Phil. There's only one correct answer.
Can we? I feel like we would do a. I mean, I know what the correct answer is. I feel like you and me could, like, effectively tag team it, like Stadler and Waldorf from the Muppets. That's what my gut says.
If I had a dime for every time you've tried to describe yourself or you and me as Stadler and Waldorf from the Muppets. Oh my god. I agree. I think that we would be a good tag team duo. Because that's the best way to commentate stuff. You got like a color commentator in there. All right.
I bet Pickle's feeling a little dill after that one. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly like that. That's good. All right, and then the last question: who would you like Pickle to fight next, and why? And I'll take this one, and then we can both answer if you want. But I think it would be fun if Pickle fought Kaiokaku or Shibukawa, or basically just some tiny little guy. That's the real question: technique versus ultimate strength. We saw Shibukawa fight Oliver ages ago, and that was fun. And I feel like the reason they didn't do that is because they would win, and it wouldn't be interesting. But who would you like to see Pickle fight, Phil?
That's a great answer. Because I mean, I also feel like like the obvious one after this episode, based on his arc, would be like Katsumi. Then at the same time, you gotta think like, well, they're probably saving that for something bigger. So like maybe to set it up, you could have him fight Doppo Orochi.
Ooh, he fights his dad first.
A motivational thing built into it.
You killed my dad. Now you must taste my mock punch. That'd be good.
Exactly. Think about how much faster he could get with the power of love behind his punch as well.
Oh my god, that would be so good. Just imagine his dead dad is imagining that he has even more joints in his arm.
I mean, he hasn't unlocked the biggest joint of all, the heart.
All right. Well, that's all. Thanks for coming on, Phil. This was fun. That's all the Baki we've got to Taki for this week. See you all next time.
Let's rock. Do, 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 do.
That's the opening sound.